Well, this was easy today. 2019, forget it. It's gone. It's over with. Thank the Lord for many of us and many things that we did or didn't do during the year. So the great thing about 2020 is it's brand spanking new. You haven't had a chance yet to goof up or foul up or forget or miss an appointment or anything else. So here's the thing. Start right away and just write a list of all the things that upset you during 2019. Yeah, all of them. Think about it. Think about the things that upset you the most, that got you going, that caused you frustration, maybe anger, maybe saying things that you shouldn't say. Write them down. The reason you write them down is if you write them down, you'll remember them. If you don't write them down, I'll guarantee you, you'll do them again. But if you can turn around and take a look at it, it helps. The other thing is to write it down, everything that you want to do for God in 2020. Now think about that one. What do you want to do for God in 2020? And write those things down, because those are the most important things that you will do in 2020. Think about that. There was a reporter that was covering a terrible coal mine disaster in the story that the reporter wrote, he began, God looked at the grief today in the little town in West Virginia, mining town, and he wept. City editor emailed him back. He said, forget the mine, interview God. Well, when you think about it, that's not a bad idea. Talk to God. Get the real story. Obviously, getting to know God in a personal way should be your greatest priority in life. If we plan on spending eternity with Him, then why in the world wouldn't you want to do that? That's the most important thing you can do. Maybe later than we think, you know. Look at what Matthew 6, verse 33 says. But seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be provided to you. There was a young boy, he was age 12. Started playing the French horn. By 15, he was playing with professional jazz groups. He became the first black musician to break the Hollywood color barrier as a composer. He's best known, and you will probably remember right away who I'm talking about, because he wrote the color Purple. But it didn't come easy for Quincy Jones. He'd been married 3 times, survived 2 brain surgeries, endured a complete emotional breakdown. Many years ago, he faced surgery for an aneurysm that threatened to kill him. Doctors told him that his chances of living were 1 in 100. Jones was asked, what did you start doing differently after that operation? He said, the first thing I started to do was hugging. He said, I hugged people. I hugged a lot. He said, when you become 50, he said, you know, you start counting down. Yeah. You start dealing with the countdown. You can deal with it in a positive way or a negative way. I see this little life to be the greatest gift I could have ever gotten. And that's the same thing with you. The greatest gift you ever could have gotten was the fact that God brought you into this world. He did it by choice, the parents that you got, but he brought you in. Now, I don't know if Quincy Jones is a Christian or not, but hugging others isn't a bad priority. With the right motive, and certainly realizing how quickly life goes by is probably a good thing to do. We are, in a sense, here today, gone tomorrow. We must have our priorities in the right place. What are our priorities in life? What are your priorities on any given day? Do you ever think about that? What are your priorities when you start the new day? What's your first order of business? What's the first thing you're going to do? You know, many of us get up out of bed, we go clean up, shave if you're a guy, shower, go get that first cup of coffee. I know I do. I take off, I go to Starbucks, I get my coffee. And I was thinking about that. And I was thinking about Quincy. And Quincy says, you know, he said, I changed things. He said, now when I get up, he said, the first thing I do is pray. Sounds like a pretty good idea. Now, I've heard of somebody else that did that. You know who that was? First thing in the morning, first thing he did was get up and go pray. That was our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. First thing in the morning, he got up. He went to a quiet place and he prayed. Now, if Jesus felt the need to go pray, why in the world wouldn't we? That should be the first thing we do in the morning and the last thing that we do at night. Amen. Is pray. Now, Matthew 6 verse 33 says, seek first the kingdom of God. If you always seek first in life to glorify and honor God, you won't go very wrong in life. Now, let's look at what you need to do in 2020. There are three basic priorities that you have to follow. First one, worship. Second one, work. You need to work. And the third one, you need to witness. Now, you got to start with a plan. Okay, so let's look at worship. Hebrews 10 verse 22 says, let us draw near to God with a sincere heart in full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled to cleanse us from a guilty conscience and having our bodies washed with pure water. And then in chapter 10 verse 25, he goes on to say, let us not give up meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. It should be obvious from Scripture and common sense that we need to worship the Lord. There was a church that suddenly stopped buying pencils from a supplier, I don't know, Office Depot or one of those places anyway. And he stopped buying the pencils for his church. Pastor got a call and he said, hey, he said, how come you're not buying pencils anymore? The pastor said, well, you know, he said, yeah, you sent me the pencils. They came on time. They worked. Everybody could write with them. But he said, then you had a little thing stamped on the pencils that said, next Sunday, go to church. No, it didn't. It said, next Sunday, go golf. That's why he didn't buy the pencils from that guy anymore. You ever look at a pencil and there's always a saying of something on the pencil? I know when I used to buy a lot of stuff when I had the business, and everything would come in, and sometimes they try to sneak stuff in on you. So don't let them do that. Now, some people get idol struck. You know what I mean by idol struck? They think of actors and actresses and things, and they just, man, that's the greatest thing in the world. But there's also some other people that get idol struck, or they think they're an idol, or people think they're an idol. And that sometimes is a pastor. Now, Rick Warren, you've heard of Rick Warren, I'm sure. One time a lady said in church, I don't think I could ever stop listening to Rick Warren preach. He's fantastic. And he said, and what did you learn? Well, he's a good speaker. Yeah, but what did you learn? He looks good. What did you learn? He likes to smile. I had one woman that said to me one day, she said, I come to church because I like to hear you. And I said, hear me what? Well, I like to hear you talk. About what? You know? No. Billy Sunday, he was a very famous baseball player. Anybody remember him? Yeah. He was converted to Christ. A Christian man put his arm around his shoulder and said, Billy, there are 3 simple rules I can give you. And if you hold to these 3 simple rules, they'll never ever write backslider after your name. He said, take 15 minutes a day to listen to God talking to you. Get that? You got to be quiet. 15 minutes and listen to God talk to you. Then take the next 15 minutes and you talk to God. 15 minutes to talk to God. And then take 15 minutes each day to talk to others about God. Most important thing you could do during the day. And oh, by the way, guys, it doesn't hurt to take 15 minutes a day to listen to your wife. You might learn a whole lot. Yeah. Now, talking to God and letting Him talk to you is a matter of worship, which needs to happen at home and at church. William Gladstone once said, tell me what the young men of England are doing on Sunday and I will tell you what the future of England will be. Well, tell me what people are doing every day and every Sunday and I'll tell you what their future will be. You see, if daily worship is part of your life, then Sunday worship will be a priority. Hebrews 12 verse 28 says, therefore, since we are receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken, let us be thankful and so worship God acceptable with reverence and awe. Now, number 2 is work. There was a boss that was coming down the hall one day and he sees one of his employees there and he says, hey Jones, how long have you been working here? He said, ever since I saw you walking down the hall. Think about that one for just a second. Some people need motivation in order to work. Maybe the boss keeping an eye on them and maybe on account of money. Okay. Maybe shelter, maybe a family, you're a family man and his children. Everybody needs to work in some form. It's a shame though that it takes a lot to get some people moving in that direction. And I think God's people should work hard. Many of us had parents that were raising us and they were hard workers. But then on the other hand, I've seen people who worked hard at their jobs, but when it came to the church, it was a different matter. Someone said it this way: the world is full of willing people, some willing to work and some willing to watch. I read in Romans 16, verse 12, where it says, greet Tryphena and Tryphosa, those women who work hard in the Lord. Greet my dear friend Persis, another woman who has worked very hard in the Lord. And in 1 Corinthians 1, verse 58, it says, therefore, my dear brothers, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourself fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor of the Lord is not in vain. My whole thing about today is that stop and think about what you're going to do this year and what's the most important thing you're going to do. You're sitting in the most important place you could be on a Sunday right now. There is no place more important that you could be. I have a poem I want to read to you. He couldn't speak before a crowd. He couldn't teach a class. But when it came to Sunday school, he brought the folks in mass. He couldn't sing to save his life. Public, he couldn't pray. But always his jalopy was just crammed on each Lord's day. And though he could not sing nor speak, nor teach nor lead in prayer, he listened well, he had a smile, and he was always there. With all the others whom he brought, who lived both near and far, and God's work prospered, for he had a consecrated car. I say he had a consecrated heart. There was a young man that couldn't speak and he couldn't hear. But he believed in God. He loved Jesus. And he turned around and he offered rides to anybody that couldn't get to church. If they couldn't walk, if they couldn't drive, if there wasn't a bus, he would pick them up and take them to church. That's a Christian for you. Now, what kind of work can we do? There's a lot of people that work right here in this church. I'll give you some examples. We have communion every other month. Wonderful to have people help get the communion ready. You know that? Haja was in here this morning helping get it ready. I was here early this morning to get it ready. It's wonderful. It's something that anybody can do. You don't have to be a pastor to get communion ready. You don't have to be a pastor to help serve the Lord's Supper. Do you know that? Anybody can serve the Lord's Supper. Doesn't take just a pastor or a deacon. It takes somebody with two hands, a great heart, and they can help. Give a communion meditation. I would love to see somebody get up and do a communion meditation before we took communion. And that can be anybody in the church. Serve the Lord's Supper to shut-ins if needed. I do that. I go to the elderly folks' home and I will do communion. I will go do communion in somebody's house. And there's nothing that says you can't do the same thing. Isn't that shocking? Put up the church sign that, it has to be changed every week. Pastor Hank has been doing that ever since I couldn't do it anymore. But you haven't got to be a pastor to put up that sign. I mean, anybody that can read can turn around and put up that sign each week. Help clean the building once a month. Boy, I see a crew in here cleaning, and they do a good job. But sometimes it's always the same crew. Now, we've got an opportunity this year with the new buildings that are going to be going up down here and everything else, and I would like nothing better than to see couples come in here with young children. You want to make a pastor smile. Have couples come in with young children that need to learn about Jesus Christ. We need to prepare some people to teach Sunday school so that when the ones that go out and invite people to come here, okay, we will be prepared to have Sunday schools ready. Playing musical. I mean, Hannah has been doing a phenomenal job. Shanae will help out when Hannah's sick or they go on a trip or something. But you know, you got 3 or 4 people that could do it, that'd be good. We have the praise team. Got a guitar player. How about that? We got a percussion specialist over here. And we got these wonderful singers. But here again, if you've got a voice. So there's a lot of things that we can do and stop and think. We don't do these things to serve the Lord because we're saved. It's because we're saved that we do these things. Everybody in here is saved. Look what it says in Romans 12, verse 11. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord.
Amen.
Now, third is witness. Matthew 28, verse 19 and 20. Therefore, go, make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey everything that I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. In 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15, it says, but in your hearts, set apart Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect. Gentleness and respect. Everybody in this church has been saved. Everybody in this church, I suspect, has probably gone to Sunday school. They've certainly heard enough pastors over the years, okay, that I'm sure they can talk to somebody that doesn't know Christ and tell them who Christ is and what Christ offers them. Give you an illustration of that. Big company, they were going to start something entirely new. They needed to get the word out so that everybody knew about it and would want it. Do you know how it started? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Verizon. Verizon sent people out door to door, knocking on doors to tell them about this wonderful new thing they had called Fios, and so on. They offered to give them free ice cream to get them to listen to their speech. Can you imagine that? Verizon, a huge company like that, and they're offering ice cream cones for people to listen to them because they wanted to get their story out. There was a pastor that he wanted to advertise. He said, I have a budget. And he asked this businessman, he said, you know, he said, I've got some money, but I really don't know. Should I get TV time, newspaper? You know, those little flyers they send out? What should I do? I got this money and I want to build my church. He said, okay. He said, well, here's what you do. He said, you get one billboard one billboard. You put it on your church property and you face it inward. And he said, what? He said, you've got the biggest sales force right in your church, sitting in the pews. Aim that message to them to go out and sell. But what are you selling? An opportunity for eternity. What a way to start the new year. Now, Robert Kraft. Anybody know Robert Kraft? When he was a young boy, he worked on a farm and he made cheese. So he had a little cart. He had a pony named Patty. And he took Patty out and they'd go up and down the streets and he'd be hawking his cheese that he had made. He said, someday, he said, I want to be the wealthiest cheesemaker there ever was. I want to be the biggest cheesemaker there ever was. He tried this for weeks and nothing really, he wasn't making any money. Wasn't making any money. He thought about it and he said, maybe we ought to serve God first. He's talking to Patty. So Kraft, he went home and he made a covenant. For the rest of his life, he would first serve God, and then he'd work as God directed. Well, many years after this, Dr. Criswell heard James Kraft say, I would rather be a layman in North Shore Baptist Church than to head the greatest corporation in America. My first job is serving Jesus. Maybe, just maybe, we need to take a look at last year and think what we are and what we are not and what we want to be. Look at 2020, brand new with all the opportunities. Kraft did that. And in case you don't know, he is the Chief Executive Officer of the Kraft Corporation, worldwide business. And he would rather be a layman in the church than be head of that corporation. That's where he placed his value. You've got an opportunity this year as to where you place your value, what you want to do. I love Jesus, and we're going to celebrate Jesus right now, where the deacons come forward and prepare the communion table.